Yeah, we still haven't named this. It's a problem.
Shit.
Oh wait, what were some of the names that we discussed?
Okay. We like the regular guys, but regular guys I think is taken. So
Yeah,
we
we don't
want
to compete with them, even though we're probably more regular than those guys will ever be.
I'm regular as fuck. But then we could
do that. Regular AF podcast.
Regular AF, nah. Maybe that.
You know what I mean?
Maybe we'll put that in the maybe file. Nah, but what was the other one? I remember what it was called.
What?
None of our business.
None of our business.
None of our business.
None of our
we
business.
have no goddamn right to be talking about this shit. But
oh, right, because my sexcapades keep coming up. Your sexcapades keep coming up.
Hey, you know what? Do we want to go? We start
God.
Okay, you know what? Let's start with the formula. I guess that's going to be the formula. That'll be the formula. You know, we start with a little bit of sex.
Oh,
maybe
God.
move into some video games, some sports, and then we, chat shit about the rest of it. You know,
I want to talk about sex. We want to talk about sex. We just ate some crazy tacos.
Some vegan tacos. Fire from what's that place called?
Taco Mix. Shout out to Taco Mix. Highland Park.
Highland Park Taco Mix.
That crazy mural inside the.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have a super dope mural of life in Highland Park in the 1800s, the end of the turn of the 19th century.
Back when people were getting shoe shines.
Turn of the 20th century, right?
Yeah, people were working in coal mines of LA. No, gold mines, right? They didn't have coal mines in LA.
It's the gold rush, baby. The gold rush.
Yeah, back in those days, it looks like like a Will Smith movie that you'd see Wild West.
It looks like the Wild West.
That's basically what it was.
It looks like a scene from Deadwood.
Deadwood.
You ever watch Deadwood?
No, but speaking of wood, we were talking about sex.
Oh
right?
yeah, we were talking about sex. Speaking of sex, man, look. I had an experience this weekend, and it was just phenomenal.
There was sex involved.
There was sex involved, and I'm not shy about my sexual life. I'm very comfortable talking about it, but
sexual.
There was just I don't want to be down. But I had a phenomenal weekend. Sonia and I were able to leave the kids at her parents.
This is none of our business, Joe.
Hey, I don't care. And let me just tell you,
out of sight.
Out of sight, my man. Out of sight.
Hey.
No, a friend, a client of mine, ended up inviting us to his wedding vows renewal. The renewal of his wedding vows.
That's right. You tell him.
Yeah, and we were able to hit Palm Springs for the weekend, and got a room, got a little frisky.
Okay, room 112.
Let's just say I fell asleep by 11.
Hey.
Oh, what happened there?
That was a crazy hiccup.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh yeah. So, yeah, we had a really good weekend. A client of mine went. We went. He was going to renew his vows and invited us out. It was pretty special. It was an intimate affair. There weren't a lot of people, so I was kind of honored that a client would want me to get out there and hang out, having nothing to do with business, but as businessmen do, we got to the business of it.
Business.
Was able to land a couple more jobs due to my social and networking skills, so that was pretty phenomenal. Got back to the room, did the dirty, got down and dirty with it, and then we went to sleep and woke up the following day. Hit the outlets. Took a shop.
The outlets in Palm Springs.
Yeah,
there's some little shops out there.
Cabezon.
That's what they used to call me when I was a kid.
Hey, yeah, they did.
They actually did, because I had a big ass head. I still have a big ass head.
It's a thing in our family. We got big ass.
But what they say, you've heard the big head theory, right?
No, what is it?
No, but most successful actors have including women. I say actors, it's actors, actresses.
Yeah, I get it.
Have big heads. their face is just bigger in general. I mean, not every single one, because there's exception to any rule, but predominantly.
Tom Cruise got a big head.
You do. Tom Cruise is all head.
Yeah.
And he's like 4'5", 4.
Shout out 5'7".
5'7".
He's all right.
He's all right.
Yeah.
I thought he was shorter than that. People like said he was like short.
Yeah. No, he's dope. Shout out to Tom Cruise, man.
Hell yeah.
Put us in a movie.
Was it Maypother? This is his actual last name.
Oh yeah. Is it?
Word on the street from my Sifu, my martial arts Sifu. I have a third degree connection to him. Like somehow I'm like two people removed from him. But the person that I'm removed from, his name is Les Grossman, and Les Grossman was the character that Tom Cruise played in Tropic Thunder.
Ah, yeah.
And the real Les Grossman finally stood up and he was like, I never got paid for that movie. Ooh. And now he wants to make a documentary about it. But you and I have been there before, Joe.
Really?
And you know, I'm not hating on it. I get it. But I mean, you've been there before with what was it, Alfonso Jones?
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
But it's Michael Jackson, dude.
The industry is crazy, man. There's just a lot of, I did it first. I should get credit for that. I mean, I get it, but damn, it's nuts. It's nuts.
It's just tough because people want to get paid.
Yeah, but also people feel entitled, and sometimes they're not deserving of it, but they still feel entitled enough to,
Because let's say Les Grossman really did play himself in the movie. Would it have been the way Tom Cruise played it, right? Or let's say that Alfonso Jones really put out the way that he did. It still wasn't the way Michael did it. You know what I mean?
That's true. It wasn't. And if what ends up happening is if you try to call those people out on stealing your image or whatever, then you just look thirsty. And it's
I'm even curious, low key, if he went so far if Al went so far as to try to put his stuff on Spotify. No, but there's some other dude named Alfonso Jones on Spotify. That's funny, because I wouldn't be surprised, but that'd have been funny.
It is what it is. So yeah, sex.
No,
wonderful.
right. Sorry,
weekend.
tangent. Yeah.
Wonderful weekend, and
which is good, man, because
much needed. It was much needed.
Because when you've been in a relationship for a long, long time, actually, okay. So the other night, myself and someone that I'm seeing, right? Because I will not drop names.
Of course.
We were watching a show by the name of Easy on Netflix, written by Joe Swanberg, directed, produced, and he's one of my favorites right now in the game. And the first episode talks about how if they've been married for 19 years.
This is the one where they're they try to role play.
Yeah, you saw it, right?
Yeah. I do.
And so again, coming back, when you've been in a relationship for that long, right? When you've been in a relationship for so long, does the passion really have to wane?
It doesn't have to, but it definitely doesn't have to. But what ends up happening is,
because that's what I'm scared of. You know what I mean? What's the point if it's gonna wane?
Okay, it doesn't have to, but it's up to the couple equally to keep
both
it
ways
entertaining.
Yeah,
to keep it, to keep it new, which just naturally it does. It's naturally gonna wane, but I mean, you just have to find a way to just bring it back. Honestly,
it's always communication. Right?
Yeah. You're always gonna hit a slump. You're always gonna. It's a natural thing.
Especially as two people, when they're growing, sometimes they grow a little apart because they're growing in different ways, and it hasn't been communicated. I think is what it really is. Okay, for all the shit that people talk about this group in particular, I have found some pretty valuable information across every nook and cranny, right? From being in masonry to even investigating Scientology, dude.
Right.
And there was something fascinating in Scientology that talks about why marriages fall apart. And they give a terminology in this little short video. It's corny, like nobody wants to watch it, but I am willing to go through it, right? Like, where is the gold here? They have that much money and that much property. They have the most real estate in Los Angeles.
You mentioned that before, not on the
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah, and so they're doing something, whether like a cult, whatever. But anyways, they talk about the terminology they called it was withhold, right? So the reason most things fall apart is because there's a communication withhold. So let's say, and that there's always a third party involved in one way or another. Like there's called the third party rule. So what? And it may be an unknown. It may be like a friend of the spouse, or a friend of I mean, might be a husband or a wife or a friend, right? But someone somewhere is creating some thought or feeding some thought that then goes into like the relationship, and that's the problem. That's why it's so important to keep the relationship between the two.
Yes.
And then let's say like somebody will go out and they might flirt a little, just because I still got it or whatever on both ends, right? Then they'll come back home and like there'll be like a withhold because they don't want to communicate that that's what happened, because it needs to be communicated in order for there to be open communication, and like that's the hardest part.
It is.
Like that honesty, like that's thankfully what's kept, even though it's like it just started for me again. Like I've tried to be, to a fault, almost as honest as possible, just because I don't want to have to like track my steps, dude, because that's how I ran into problems pretty much everywhere in the past.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think it's fascinating that like, and it also works wonders in the bedroom. Let me tell you, hey, because you can just be honest, like, yeah or nah, And
that's a beautiful thing. I think Sonia and I have it down to a science when it comes to the bedroom.
Hey,
we already know what we need to do to get our
She's
Joneses.
Gonna kill you.
We know what we need to do to get our Joneses.
And so that's the most important thing, I think. What I always like to point back to is like having that level of communication and instant like awareness of each other's, how to get each other there. Like it's not about like people like, especially like if there's any virgins out there listening or whatever, and they're like, oh, what's it like, sex? And then they watch porno and then they think that, and they gives like a misconception of what it really is like.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hardly ever, except for specific moments, maybe, but it's not definitely an hour long of choking and smacking. Like that's
definitely not.
Like if people are having sex that way, like that's not even sex at that point.
She could get nice and rough and dirty, but I mean, I doubt it goes for hours on end.
No, because
especially if you know what you want and you don't really have the time for it. Like, yo,
if you've got kids on top of that, like at some point you really got to know yourselves. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like I was thinking about, we were talking about the other day on the phone, right? Like I think I mentioned it to you. Entrepreneurs must have like the worst love lives, or people who are like really like successful in their careers.
Because there's
zero time, and then you throw a family into that on top of that.
It's tough.
Because you got to get your sleep in. Like one thing I'm trying to work on is like sleep.
You see, there are so many different factors in it. Once you're in a relationship, once you have a family, it's time. Okay, you have work. You have to spend time with the kids. You have to have your own time. You have to have time with your spouse. You have to have time for activities outside of your family, with your friends and your actual like extended family, like your
to have siblings, a healthy life. Yeah.
So you got to factor in all those things, and you still have to have time for love.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But some people could definitely do it better than others. But I'm guilty of having issues with that. Like it's hard to balance all those things and to do it successfully. I have bumps all the time where it's like, I don't get to see my kids all the time because I'm traveling for work, or like it's tough.
Like even if you want to be there.
Yeah. Even if you want to be there, it's a little hard.
Gary Vee, I think, like who's the most notorious social media entrepreneur right now. He was like, he didn't even really get to hang out with his dad till he was like 16 because his dad was so busy working. But he grew up, and maybe he's the exception to the rule because his mom like instilled in him, good values. But he grew up like, just seeing his dad do that, and then realized like that's what it takes like to live the like, and they weren't like well off by any stretch of the imagination, but that's what it took, and like that's the work ethic that he saw, But then you have this other side. There's a guy named Ryan Michtler, I think is his last name, but he has a podcast himself called Order of Man, where he like it's like all man shit, right? Like men and like, which is cool. But one of the things he posted recently on Instagram, he was like, I put my wife first and I let my kids know about it. He said, because she was there before my kids. And he was like, and they need to see that example so that when they get their own wives, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, well, that's an interesting argument because she was there before. And that's not the first time I heard it, because one of my clients on that podcast, he talks about how he makes it specifically known at home. Like he does two things. Number one, he makes kids pay bills, like with the allowance that they get. They'll pay like, 50 cents for electricity, like whatever. So they get used to like the realities. And then the other is that he tells the kids like these nights are his and their mom's like date night, and it's undisturbable, non-negotiable. Like they have to go figure out something else, and they're older, obviously.
Yeah.
But like it's like that whole thing of like putting the woman first because she was there before the kids and showing that example is interesting to me.
I think that if that is something that happens, that's definitely something when they're older.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do that to a child.
Sure.
That's
sure. The ego would probably get crushed.
That would fuck up the kid. If you have a 7-year-old and you say, hey, your mom comes first, period. Like that would fuck up a kid. Like that makes them second class,
Yeah, basically.
An afterthought. Like,
yeah.
And that would definitely affect the kid's confidence, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Now, if we're talking
like
16,
date nights,
17
16,
year-olds,
yeah.
Then that's because they at that point they should have the ability to take care of themselves, keep themselves busy. So yes.
Coming back to like one of the conversations we had before, like when you're 14,
yes,
you kind of already have the id.
The
I think it's developed.
Yeah.
I think it's a psychology term. The id, like there's a persona developed.
You've already, your personality has already come to fruition. You're kind of heading in the route of where you're going to just go in life as far as a person, You've already been able to distinguish what society thinks of good and evil,
Right.
So yeah, I can agree that at that point, then you're able to tell your kids, hey, your mom.
What about like at 12 and like 13?
No, because I feel you still have to take care of your kids.
It's like PG-13 is still animated films, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no.
like if they're still watching animated films because those are the only films they can watch, they're still too young.
I think once the kids are in high school, well within high school,
when they don't even want to be around you anyways.
Yeah, they don't even want to be around you anyway. So
like taking full advantage of the time that they do want to be around you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's around a good time, but any younger is just that's.
I'll send you the reference material. I'll send you the reference material, and maybe you can look it over because I think it is crazy. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
Like he's one of those dudes. Like he takes his boys out like wood chopping and shit like that. Like one of those dudes. He's like super man shit.
I'm not into that.
But they are older.
It's cool. I mean, it's cool for some people, but I don't know. I'm not into it.
No,
I'm not into it because I'm trying to implement. I'm trying to like teach Gavin that.
Your son.
Yeah, my son. That men and women are equals. Period.
Right.
They're equals. Straight down the middle. Like, doesn't matter. Anything a man can do, a woman.
I mean, a man and a woman do meet in the middle.
You
know what I mean? Nature has intended it to be so.
I never want him to feel like he can do something better than a girl because she's a girl. Like, no.
Dude, I spent my whole childhood getting beat by women in spelling bees. I always got second place.
But see, that's why, like, I don't like the whole I'm a man. I'm gonna go chop wood and shit. Like
Well, masculinity, yeah. I
that
mean,
whole masculinity shit. You
machismo
gotta
shit.
toss that
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
out
yeah,
the window,
yeah.
man. If you fucking want to cry, then fucking cry, man.
Right.
Like I don't know. That
Like
shit. That shit
there's
to me
yeah,
is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
yeah.
I'm not with it.
Like
I'm
the gender
absolutely not.
normative
Yeah,
situation.
I'm definitely not with it. I don't fuck with that.
That's true. That's true.
Like,
Actually, you know what's crazy is I was walking down the street here with the girl I'm seeing, and there was like a bum, right? Who when you walk through downtown LA, I'm in Highland Park, but when you walk through downtown LA and you see the right, and so in my head I'm like, okay, I'll have to, right, and the streets are smaller over here because it's like a town. And there was a lady that walked by first before us because she was ahead of us, and he raised his hand, but then like put it back down because he was just like being aggressive, right? And she like kind of jumped back, and for me I was already like, okay, that wasn't okay. Like, just as a civilian, I'm not about to watch this crazy man try to lay a hand on this woman, right? So then, like, I told the girl I'm seeing, I'm like, stay on this side of me to my right because he's on the inside of the block. And the loudest one in the room is the weakest is always a true rule, right? So instead of like trying to sort of instigate something and make eye contact, I simply positioned myself in a way that would be advantageous and like kept my head cocked to the side, but like didn't like make eye contact. It was more like I was just watching for his moves and being very still kind of situation, right? As we're walking. And he starts getting even more aggressive and saying, like, you don't want to mess with. I'm not the one. Right? Like, just, and I was like, fucking guy. But then the light turns green because I told her we were going to cross the street because it's better to avoid things than to instigate something, right? But I was like, okay, cool. And when we got to the other side, the girl I was seeing was like, if you thought you were going to go through that alone, you're tripping. I would have kicked his head in so hard. And she's Puerto Rican from the East Coast. Like, I was like. And I thought to myself, that was kind of cool because that isn't usually what the response you hear, Yeah, and it just goes to show that you never know who you're with, and it isn't a gender thing.
It isn't. It shouldn't be.
Even if not all, but generally speaking, men tend to be on the heavier-handed side. It's not to say that a girl can't knock your lights out.
Yeah, right. Right. No, I agree. Like the other night, we had gone out for Halloween, and.
No, you came across something too?
Yeah. Like we had gone out for Halloween and there was a situation where we had gone out with my son's friends to go trick or treating, and they went through this whole thing where they were like, oh, boys rule, running around and shit, and I'm like, yo, I told him, I was like, nah, I was like, what have I told you before? He's like, what? He said it. I'm like, yeah, but you should not encourage it because you're encouraging that whole mentality. I was like, I've told you before, like, there's no boys rule here. That's not a thing with us. Like, and he was just like quick to just like, okay, sorry. And it's just like, that's the whole boys rule thing is what ends up influencing our sons to think that they're above these women. Like, and it starts that early.
Right.
Like, my son is 7 and he was already on that. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's not gonna happen.
When I was a kid, I remember that.
That's absolutely not gonna happen because it's not true. I just don't agree with it.
It's true, man.
Yeah. So the whole masculinity, machismo shit, it's out the window. Actually, matter of fact, I was looking at some apparel. There's this Japanese clothing line called Trove, and they've modernized like the old kimonos, like the samurai stuff, not samurai, but like how
just want to say women in kimonos are my weakness, but go on.
But how but how men dressed in like feudal Japan,
sure,
with
like The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom Cruise, shout out.
No, but I saw that, I was like, man, I'd fucking rock that. And then my coworker comes by. He's like, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "I'm just looking at these clothes that I'm thinking of buying." Now, upon further inspection, the fucking clothes are expensive as shit.
Right,
like
right.
one of the little sweaters that
For
they
the
had.
Trove collection?
Yeah, it was like $280. I
For
was
a
like,
robe?
damn, I gotta think. Yeah, it was like a robe.
Damn. Was it hand stitched?
It's
It better be.
it's something, but I was like, damn, I got a second. But before I found out what the prices were, I was like, oh, I was thinking of getting this, and that. And he was like, yo, is that dude wearing like a skirt, like a dress? I'm like, it's not necessarily a dress, but it's what they used to wear. Yes.
Right, yeah. Men used to dress like that, yeah.
He's like, oh man, I'd never be caught looking like that, wearing a dress like that. I'm like, yo, like, this dude could probably fuck you up.
Yeah.
And you're over here talking about him wearing a dress. This is the culture. That's what they would wear, dude.
Yeah.
And nobody thought anything less of this dude.
In fact, those were the dudes that got laid.
People feared these dudes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So for you to say, "Oh, I would never get caught," well, then you're fucking garbage for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this dude could probably fuck you up. And he's like, "Oh, man." He's like, "Oh no."
He was like, "Oh, I was just saying."
I'm like, "Yo, you
but and
ignorant as shit."
And I was just gonna say, you know, like I feel like the word ignorance carries a lot of negative connotations, but if you really break down what it's saying at its root, it's just saying you've ignored certain realities of the world we live in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's just what it was. He's probably one of those dudes who's never really left his neighborhood, gone beyond that. You know, I read an article the other day. Hold on, somebody at the door.
So I'm gonna look up this.
Scale? No.
A mailing scale.
Yeah, not sure. That was the first time someone ever knocked on my door.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there was an article I read, fascinating, to touch on this whole level of like ignorance and things like that. It was on LinkedIn. There'd be some like business wise articles. LinkedIn is the place to be, man. Not Twitter. Twitter's too much. Like, it's just too easy to troll there. The article talked about this kid who got sponsored by. Oh yeah, that's dope.
That shit's fire. Huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, okay. So okay. Coming back to the Trove collection that Joe was talking about. It's very contemporary. It's like H&M, but very baggy, loose, meets like Japanese culture. Yeah, which is dope. It's dope, and it's definitely cultured in terms of like it's somebody who's taken the time to go beyond themselves.
This is the one that I was looking at.
Yep.
And that shit is like $280. I was like,
it looks like it. That looks like something like at a shop. There's a shop out here, a women's clothing store called Theodore, that has like a similar aesthetic, but this is clearly designed for men.
Yeah.
Like the colors are darker.
Yeah.
The materials are more.
Look at this one. This Johnny's dope.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think this is the one he saw. He's like, is that your wear? I'm like, yes. It's not a dress.
It's not a dress. Well, I mean, I'd hate to see what he'd say, like, if he saw a kilt, you know, and I would never fuck with the Scottish.
That's exactly what I told him.
A Scotsman could probably smack the shit out of me.
Scots,
you know what I mean?
Kilts,
they
bro.
fucking
and
fight.
They could probably fuck you up.
Fisticuffs, you know.
So it's just.
I think they invented boxing.
Yeah, but then again, he is one of the dudes that's like, I'm a man. I'm a man.
Masculinity, machismo, like, look,
his thing is like he walks into a room and he wants to size all the dudes up. Why? Like, are you gonna fight with every single one of those dudes? Like, yeah. Why?
I was just in the middle of an experience last night when I went out with the girl I'm seeing. We went to a party she wanted to go to. Like, I don't go out. Mm-hmm. I'm like the most boring individual in the world. I'm way too dedicated to the shit I'm doing. But I went out with her because it was important to her. Yeah. Right. And all her plans failed, and the people who were supposed to go with didn't go with her. So I was like, that was a moment of true giving. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, let's roll. So we get there, and sure enough, it's like a clothing store turned kind of like into like a party scene. But like it's just like, yeah, exactly. But it's just what you would expect. There was music playing, but most people weren't dancing. Everybody was looking tough, but it was a scene. They were all wearing their fits, but nobody was moving and shaking. And then somebody spills a drink, and it falls right in front of one of the dudes, right? And it's like shoulder to shoulder, like it's kind of cramped, but like it's clearly something just fell, and like nobody did anything. So I ran an experiment. I was like, let me see what happens if I do this. So without telling anybody, I just grab a shitload of napkins and I throw them on the floor in front of them. I'm like, excuse me. and like it's not. I clearly don't work there. You know what I mean? I'm suited up too, but like I'm like wiping it down. Suddenly he goes and gets some napkins too, and like, but it fell in front of him, and for like 2 minutes he did nothing. And so it goes to show that what we're really lacking, I think, is the leadership. Or to show people in social situations that it's okay to be a certain way. And when it's not okay to be a certain way. But it's easier to show people when it's okay to be a certain way than to say you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like talk about masculinity and like toxic. Like everybody's like, oh, everybody's looking tough.
That's what, yeah. I'm like, I don't even give a fuck.
And that's the culture, man, because it's fear. It's clearly fear. They clearly feel inadequate.
It's insecurities. It's insecurity with your sexuality, honestly.
I think so.
Or
like you feel like you have to reassert your manliness. And like, that's not what it means to be a man.
That's what machismo is to me. Like
reasserting your manliness
at all
times.
Reassert that you're a fucking man. Like,
in case you don't know, I have a penis.
That's the fucking problem.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
That's why all these dudes were doing the shit that they were doing, and now it's coming back to them.
And it's changing, man. Like I told you, that article, I just want to finish this point. Facebook sponsored somebody in Chicago, like to basically, what they do is they drive like into the inner city and they drive kids out of the hood just to show them what the rest of Chicago looks like. Because most kids never leave their hood. Like especially in like the troubled inner city, like that's the block that they know. And I didn't know that was a reality till I moved to New York for a while and realized that most people didn't even leave the little boroughs they were in because they were like, yo, I don't go to Brooklyn and then from like the Bronx, they're like, cause get caught. And I'm like, what do you mean? I traveled through all the boroughs, all 5 boroughs, all 5 of these towns. You know what I mean? And like, I was fine. But then someone like our cousin Angel will walk through the same area, and for some reason his energy just attracts the wrong crowd.
Really?
And I don't know how it happens, man. Like when I walk by myself, I'm not a problem. Nothing going on. I really feel like chemical reactions between two human beings can change the state of the events that are to follow. Because every time I either hang out with him, with our beloved Danny, or like my buddy Joseph, or just anybody in general who like happens to be more on the aggressive side, or the ones that pay, because it's what people pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
Like they pay attention. Like if someone's flexing and like puffing their chest, they pay attention to that. Whereas I'm like, I don't get fazed by it. Maybe if I'm like super drunk, all of a sudden I get to that level. But
I'm known to do that. Get
you
like
know,
that
like when you get
I'm
sauced.
not gonna lie.
When you get sauced, oh,
Whiskey
what?
Joe comes out. Whiskey Joe comes out.
But it goes to show it's a lesser nature.
Yeah. I don't know what happens to me when I get. I mean, I have an idea of what happens to me.
It's the lizard brain.
I wild out. I do wild out.
It's the lizard brain, man.
Yeah, I definitely wild out. But I mean, I have good intentions.
You start, what are you doing? I can always tell when Whiskey Joe's in the building because like part of it's not just the slur, part of your face slurs. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it looks.
I gotta stop. I gotta stop that. It's horrible.
Dude, I'm sloppy too. That's why I don't drink at all. Cause I'm clearly a damaged soul. So like that's why I don't do it because I know I go down that path. No. I start like all my anger issues and everything come out. You know, it's like bad for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to encourage that side of myself.
Yeah, I gotta cut that shit out, man. I gotta cut that shit out. It's all good.
Oh, well, I mean, we also happen to come from like a bloodline, like as Latinos. It's kind of like in our blood. Literally, we're more prone, as geneticists would say, we're more prone to those activities because of the acts of our not only our race or what genetics, but also like legitimately just our next of kin. Yeah. Like we're I mean, especially I come from like both my mom and my dad. My dad was all into alcohol and all kinds of shit, and then my mom was all into medications, and so like I'm prone to addiction like a motherfucker.
Yeah, man.
According to geneticists.
The only thing he's addicted to now is sex.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, dude, I remember I told you over the phone I thought I broke my dick. None of our business. Yes. At it again.
Yes.
I thought I broke my. I heard a snap. I felt a snap.
Called me, said, "Yo, thought I broke my dick last night. I had to bounce from old girl's house because I was just like too worried. I didn't want to take it any
Dude,
further.
I was looking like on WebMD and like it made it worse. You know, it was like penis fractures. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to have surgery.
He self-diagnosed himself.
Worst idea
Oh shit.
ever.
Oh shit.
And I know better, man. But I legit could not feel my penis at the end of that night.
Hey, man.
But
Good
when
for
I
you.
woke up in the morning and, you know, I had the morning wood, I was so relieved. But I was still concerned, you know,
Yeah.
because I was like, what if this is like one of the last erections I'll ever have? It was all bad, dude.
What if this one stays?
Because every
forever?
time I would, you know, I'd start getting the blood flowing again, like my balls and the side of my dick felt like I got hit by a car, like it was like hurting to work.
Oh shit.
But then I realized, you know, I've been kind of busy lately, like really going in, like in, and the chemistry is so and such that like it'll be like 6-7 times a night, bro. It's like it's crazy chemistry.
Tantric sex.
There's some legit libido in the air, dude. It's like a Nirvana song. Dun dun chicka dun dun dun. I Febreze every time after, bro.
Come on.
It smells like the 70s when I'm done, bro.
Oh man, that was good. That was good. I like that.
Oh my God. It's bad. And I don't know. I wasn't around for the 70s, but if that was a smell, if it had a smell, it would be that.
It smelled like Mr. T and
Dude, I put it to you this way. I had to Google how to remove sex stains. Okay, because
really,
yeah, dude.
Holy
I was like,
shit.
shit. When did this get on my clothing? You know.
Oh no.
But apparently, it's pretty common.
Yeah.
It's pretty common. You know, get the juices flowing, especially if
Good.
you foreplay and the juices are flowing. Women's clothing are never the same.
No. It's definitely a thing. I mean, pre-cum. Gets
All that,
over the
yo,
place.
dude. But like, I'm a big fan of foreplay, man. Like for me, if I don't do that, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah, of course. You want to be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to be a fan.
And I think that's what makes the difference between like lovers that women never like will ever forget, and like, or just lovers in general who are never forgotten,
Right.
and lovers who are appreciated, versus those who are like clearly were only in it for themselves. Because foreplay is really the act of you servicing someone like before yourself.
Absolutely. And I mean, you need to have it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, you're gonna go into this dry situation, and that's just not fun, man. It is not fun.
And some people are so bad at
Penetrating-
foreplay that there's like KY jelly.
Dude,
All kinds of shit.
penetrating while dry is a very, very, very painful thing to do.
Okay. So I come from like a history where like I didn't trust people so much that I just always used condoms. So I didn't know, because you know my condoms are lubed and this and that. So and plus I'm always foreplay in general, but just I didn't know that it could be like a dry situation. But you know, as I got older and I started like having way too much sex and started doing the math on condoms and like
Minus.
yeah, you know what I mean. I
7.
started becoming a little more liberal and like, you know, but still being careful as much as possible. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like to the point where even like the inkling of this might already start to feel too good. I'm like, all right, hold on, just because of my paranoia. But like, yeah, sometimes trying to go in like even if it's purely wet, like it may not have reached the outer area, and you're like, oh, what the fuck, you know? And that's why I see in movies like people will spit in their hand. Is the spit the real deal? Spit on the top, and you know you go in, and humans are funny, man.
Thing, man. You know, hey, don't shoot down no lube, man. Lube is a life.
That's the way to go.
Because sometimes you just don't have the time, and you just want to get it in real quick.
Lube it up real quick.
Just like
Throw the KY on and just
grab that tube and just
all over.
get it in. Done. Don't even worry about it. Sometimes it has like that heating one. Or,
Yeah.
You know the
Yeah. Where it gets like warm upon activation or some shit like that.
Yes.
Damn.
So I mean, you guys might want to, explore some.
It's
of
like you
those.
were saying last time. When you get to my age,
Boy, I tell you what, when you get to my age, you take any help you can get.
oh my god! You know what? In fact, if people do end up hearing this episode, because I still don't know what we're doing with this, I would invite people to leave a comment about this section and just answer yes or no, and we'll know. We'll know. Nobody else will know if they haven't listened, but just say yes or no if you experiment and use like additional supplies in the bedroom.
Honestly, maybe that's a route that some couples need to take. I mean, maybe you get a little bit of lube, maybe you get a little toy here or there. I mean, just to keep it spicy.
Yeah.
You want to keep it spicy.
There should be no shame in like doing what you got to do for you guys to get yours.
Not at all. There should definitely be no shame in it. Like,
sexuality's tough. Like it's so sensitive.
You should be able to just explore. There's a situation happening in my ears.
And the glasses and the headphones. Yeah. It's like pinching the
The headphones are pressing on my glasses.
And then it's like cutting off the veins on the side of your head. It's like you're starting to get dizzy. Feeling a bit woozy, man.
feeling a little weird.
You good now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, man. Like it's so frail, right? Sexuality is so frail in humanity, and like how you're introduced to it is so important.
Because we get trapped in these categories, in these in these frame of mind, these ways of thinking that we have to, man and a woman, missionary, like you get, I don't know.
Just like if you haven't tried other positions,
bro, you gotta just explore it.
I'm always looking for the deepest, most penetrating. Like I don't care how pretzel like it looks or feels. Like as long as it gets it in.
I feel like sex is just like it's the gateway to the soul, man. And
nice.
You just want to the more you explore it, the deeper you get into it.
That's why you say that. When I hear you say that, for some reason it reminded me of I had this when I worked in the jewelry district in downtown. There was this old school Armenian, like Russian Armenian cat, old school dude. His name was Johnny, and he was always like, if you read Hamlet, I was like, no. He's like, Hamlet's like a young guy in a 72-year-old man's body. He was like just like the way he philosophized. He's like, you got to read that shit, man. I was like, all right, Johnny, all right. I'm like, just waiting for this ring to get, He's like, but let me tell you something, kid. Nobody knows how deep the pussy is. And I was like, what? It just came out of nowhere, dude. He was like, nobody knows how deep the pussy is. I was like, what?
He's not lying. He's not lying. It's just,
I feel like I'm so loud on the mic.
You can explore it your whole life and never, never truly know the power.
Oh,
because,
man.
The vagina is a very, very strong.
It's a powerful force.
Powerful force.
Some men, before even going in, are finished.
The vagina can move mountains.
It quite literally has.
It can crumble nations. It can,
I think men have
topple empires.
Yeah, I think men have only dug into the ground, exploded mountains, and built civilizations all to get.
Look at Helen of Troy, man. Perfect example. That woman, on her sheer beauty, was able to destroy a society. Because
what's this girl's number? 1.
It's amazing. Yeah,
she had the phone number. It was 1.
She was the one player.
The one.
So it's amazing. Yeah. Explore your sexuality, man.
That's what we're trying to say.
Just explore. Explore sex for sure. You want to explore as much of it as possible. Within certain parameters. You want to obviously stay safe and stuff like that.
Yeah, no 2 girls in 1 cup type shit.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. But also just explore yourself and explore yourself. Obviously, you want to explore sexual situations with your partner, you know, if you have a partner, if you have multiple partners, you know,
Hey,
that's cool
jackpot.
too. But just explore it, be safe about
Responsibly,
it,
yeah.
responsibly, but also explore yourself. I'm a huge advocate of masturbation and self love and just,
Hell yeah.
dude, just fucking do it.
Call them rough patches.
You know, try different things and just, you know, don't be insecure. Like
you got to know what you like.
don't feel like you exploring what you like is also going to define who you are as a person. And just as far as like, because some people, especially guys, are afraid that if they try different things that they're gonna be perceived as gay or something. Like, no.
Right.
No,
You're talking about the man G spot?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
The man G spot.
You know, like, don't be afraid of just trying different shit because you're afraid that you're gonna be considered gay or that you're gonna realize that you're gay. If you realize that you're gay, then fucking beautiful.
At least you know who you are.
You're exactly.
That's like going. It's like going. I don't want to go to the doctors because they're gonna find something wrong with me. If there's something wrong with you,
yeah,
you know,
like, just explore it.
It might set you free.
It might set you free. You might live a better life because of it.
Because sexuality is so tied to like how we interact with people.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And if we're not confident in that, like, we'll come off as weird. You know, that's why most virgin people are like when they're in like middle school or all that shit. That's why they're so awkward because they're like they're unsure of like
repressed self-loathing. Because you never explored, you know, yourself. You never.
And then there's people who are way too liberal,
you know?
and like they cross people's like, you know, personal space, and that's like a different story.
That's a different story. They're just some
both
people that
men on men and like women on women and like and men on women and women on men. Like there's all types.
Yeah.
And that's true.
But yeah, just explore self-love.
But and how do you think like introducing sexuality to like, because I mean, yeah, it's tough.
Let me get this real quick.
Yeah. Pause it?
No, you don't have to pause it.
Okay.
Hey, well.
J-So's taking a call. And I just finished my yerba mate.
No, we're still here.
If you guys haven't fucked with the yerba mate, you need to. I've probably put on like 80 people to this shit. And they should be. You know what? If they wanted to sponsor the podcast, I would be all about it. But put this down. And we probably have about like a good amount of conversation too, so
all right,
we probably could wrap it up.
No, all right. Nah, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Yeah, introduction of sexuality. Like how like, because you know, not everybody, like I remember the first time I ever saw like that I could remember, my dad in his closet had like trading cards by Playboy. And like I stole them and I took them to like elementary school and I was like, guys, check this out. And they had like the 80s bush and like, you know, like I was like, what is this?
Ain't nothing wrong with a little bush.
Yeah, my friends were like, what? And I don't remember what happened to the cards, so I probably gave them to my friends. And my dad probably like, where'd my shit go?
Oh, shit. I'm not gonna say anything because then they're gonna know I had them.
But they were like legit, you know, playing cards, blackjack, you know, poker, whatever. But they just had Playboy Playmates on them. Yeah, that was like the first time where I was like, "What is this?" And then like a week later, the girl that everybody liked in class, her and like her little squad, they like cornered me over by like in our school we had like a stairway that leads down to the library. And like I got cornered in that little stairway like inside the classroom building, and like there was like all 5 of them, all the girls, and they're like, Philip, Zyro wants to tell you something. I was like, okay. And then like she just went in and like kissed me, and I was like, what? Oh, I had been like 7. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh, you know,
what's happening?
I was like, are we a thing now?
What's happening?
You know? And like they just ran away. They just ran away and like giggling. And I was like, okay, are we like a thing? Like what happens? Literally lunch hits and I see her holding hands with some other boy outside the yard. And I was like, no! And, you know, like I looked up at the skies. They were gray. I was devastated, dude. I was absolutely devastated. From that moment on, I was hurt.
Uh,
It was like, "Dear
that,
Darla."
that was the beginning of
That was the beginning of my women problems. I hate
That's
your
funny.
stinking guts. That's how it was, man.
Damn.
Do you remember? Like that was like the first like little scam. Do you remember your first ever? Like intro, like okay, yeah, because
Shit.
I'm sure you run into sex one way or another through the parents, like some kind of playboys or something, hustlers. But
I think my first experience with a girl.
we're like any interest at all, where you're like, what the fuck?
Shit.
Taking it way back now.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember a lot of my childhood. So.
We're going back to like the dial-up days of DSL.
Wow.
Even before
Second
that.
grade. Where was I at?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it had to have been like second grade for me too.
There was a girl. Yeah, I can't remember this.
Might have been
girl's name.
first grade. I think it was.
It might have been like first or second grade. I can't remember. I don't even remember where I was. Shit. I think I was at. Saturn.
Oh, because you went to another elementary.
Yeah.
You didn't go to just one middle elementary school.
Yeah, I went to like 4 different elementary schools.
That's crazy. That was my middle school life.
Yeah, I went to like one for first grade, one for second grade, and then I went to 2 for third grade, and then for those 2 that I was in third grade, I stayed at that elementary school from third grade to 5th. So that was 4. I think I might have been at a different school for kindergarten too. I can't remember.
So most of your friends are from third grade on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's hard to keep friends like as a kid when you're doing that.
And in fact,
I know.
I probably, I mean, with the age that we live in today where, you have access to everyone via like Facebook and Instagram. Like,
have you found like elementary school friends?
Oh,
there?
Yeah, absolutely. I on Facebook, I think I have like 10 of them.
No shit.
That I was in elementary school.
Are you surprised by any of like how they turned out? You don't have to drop any names because they might listen to this.
No, I'm not surprised. Like I want to say they're all pretty successful.
Dope.
They're all pretty successful people. I mean, bakers and barbers and electricians and lawyers,
respectable positions in life.
Yeah, they all have careers.
All essentials, really. It sounds like
anyone who I found on Facebook has a career.
There might be those people who like don't have a social media and they're off the grid, and
I mean
they also smoke a lot of weed.
Normal enough. They all seem normal enough for sure. So, I mean, I think I don't know. I think Zennials have kind of figured it out before
the Generation X.
Before you got no. It's right after X, right before Millennials. With the Zennials.
The Zennials.
We're right on that gooch,
The gooch. It's not the man G spot
exactly
just
the
yet.
Ass. It's not exactly the balls. It's like right there. So I mean, I think
God. Just apply a little pressure there. You know what I mean?
Just enough, enough to tickle your butthole.
Oh my God, dude, trip out. I hung out with my friends from elementary school. Speaking of the topic the other day, apparently one of them like created a hit for J-Lo and like went platinum. And he used to be like super gangster and like, but we were all friends in high school. Like they called me out of nowhere. My friend Edwin, who's related to your friend Alex. Yeah, they're like family. Our mutual friend Juan, who nobody had any expectations of, and he knows that, and he says he was bringing it up. Like he's out there, like he's 4 times platinum right now, and like, and I was like, dude, I'm so happy for you. Like it was one of those situations where, like, surprisingly, I didn't feel any like, oh, I gotta like work with this dude. It was more like, I'm so fucking happy to hear that he turned out okay. That. Like he's doing great. Like I have no intentions of pushing the envelope in any way. Like I'm just like I was at a big ass house in Santa Monica and like he's got like $150,000 studio and I was like, congratulations, man. Like, do it, go. His girl's like this dope DJ chick. Like I'm so happy for him, man. But I was just like, this dude is like made tracks for J-Lo. Apparently he was also like involved in the production of that track. He has like the solo. Like he showed me the session. You know, he's got the whole the da na 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 with Pitbull and J Lo, and I was like, God damn, the Get on the Floor or something like that.
I don't think I've ever heard
No,
it.
I was just like, wow.
I might have heard it, but I don't.
Yeah. But like, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, are you surprised at like any like people from like elementary school, like where they've become? Because man, I wish I knew where half the people. Because I fought a lot when I was in school. I was an angry kid.
Yeah.
Did you fight in elementary school?
Not really.
No,
Not really.
You were a lover, huh?
I've always
was
been
angry,
a lover,
dude.
but you know,
I got my ass beat and I fought.
trust me, I had spells where I was just very
Destructive.
destructive, definitely. Definitely like toward out of high school, I was just
Outside of high school.
yeah, out of high school.
That's when you hit your streak.
I was pretty. I was a monster. Definitely. There was a lot of savagery for sure.
What do you think it was coming out of high school that did that to you?
Independence.
You just wanted to
For
establish it,
For sure, independence.
like letting people know nobody
now
owned you and shit.
Exactly. I mean, I was in that position around 16 anyway, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Where I was already like pretty independent, but you know, finishing high school was definitely one of those situations where like now nobody could tell me shit.
You know what? Come back to that 15 and 16 years old. I just read a chapter of Umberto Eco's Chronicles of a Liquid Society. Very respected Italian writer. And he talks about how, you know, I shared it on my IG today too. Like, he talks about how back in the day, like we think that technology in general, like, you know, like AI and all that, it's like really our greatest achievements. But if you look at it, like, increasing our life expectancy has been our greatest achievement as a society. Because people were full-blown adults at 16 back in the day. Like, Mozart lived to like 32. Like, if you lived to 30, you were like already an old-ass person. And this is something that's overlooked in history.
Yeah.
Like, it's overlooked in our history classes.
No,
but
that's
like,
true. People were dying at 50 and 60.
yeah, like they were like 100 basically at 50.
Yeah. No.
And now,
but you also have to consider that there were no labor laws for children, so you were working at fucking 10 years old.
yeah,
You were already part of the workforce, and you know, you were already seasoned at 15, like you know, so it's not a surprise.
And that's where I'm going with this. It's like we all hit like a quarter life crisis and like a midlife crisis, and we wonder why. And like Umberto Eco didn't say this, but like intuitively, I was like, well, that's like my thought was, well, shit, that could possibly explain why we struggle around that age, because biologically as a species, we never really have lived that long. And so we start getting to a certain age and we're concerned for a lot of things because time. Mm-hmm. And we haven't adapted to the fact that our life expectancy has increased. Mm. And, you know, like now kids really believe they don't have to be adults till they're like 40. Some adults don't even think they have to be adults till they're 40.
Yeah.
And so when you have that kind of perspective, you make moves differently.
I'd like to think that is more entitlement than anything.
Sure.
And not only entitlement, but also due to your financial status. Like, there are a lot more people who are financially well off because of their parents, that they feel they don't have to mature until they're a lot older, because they have that luxury.
Right, it's clearly a luxury. Clearly a luxury.
That I see that with I don't know if there's like this social media entity called Awesome People Doing Things. I don't know if you've ever seen
No, I
that.
haven't seen it.
I think
you probably
they
sent
do
something
have
to
like
me.
a
Yeah.
Facebook page, and I think they have an Instagram page.
Awesome People Doing something.
It's called Awesome People Doing Things, and I always find it funny because all these awesome people doing things are predominantly white people.
Yeah.
White, you know, young adults.
Just so happens that statistically more of them seem to be well
I always
off.
want to just leave a comment on their shit like, this should be called white people doing awesome things. Like, because it's always just like a bunch of bros doing backflips into a lake, or a bunch of bros doing fucking cliff jumps and shit.
Yeah.
A bunch of bros doing fucking amazing gymnastic shits and like
Extreme sports and
like, gyms and shit with trampolines and all that shit. And then you'll see like a black dude skateboarding, a Latino dude skateboarding, doing something cool. And then you'll see, a dude in a bicycle in the Grand Canyon doing a backflip over some, but that's a bro. Like, it's like
the heights.
Just go to like awesome people.
I'm gonna go
and just click on any of those videos, and you just see it's just like all these white young kids, between the ages of like fucking, I don't know, 16 to like fucking 30.
Yeah.
Just doing all these extreme things, and it's because they have the luxury to do that. Because
right, like you could be mad at them, but like the truth is,
I mean, you can't really be mad because, that's just
the life that they were given.
It is. It's the way it is. Like, I have to work.
It's crazy.
Have that luxury, but,
it is crazy. It's crazy.
And it's just funny to me. Like
when I was a kid, maybe this happened to you too. Like you'd hear about friends going like to Big Bear. Like I didn't go to Big Bear till like I was like 26, and like one of my mentors decided to take me out because he found out I'd never even been to the zoo till I was like 19. Like when you hear things like as a kid, I could never get a musical instrument.
You've never done that? No, dude. No, Doug, I haven't. I haven't had the opportunity to do that, Rory.
And it's crazy because that does change your perspective on what's possible in life.
Yeah,
comes back to like the kids who that guy who got sponsored by Facebook to take kids out of the inner city and like show them the rest of the neighborhood. Kids will always reach for the highest branch they see, right? And like those kids have been going on yacht cruises since they were kids, so like the only other high, it's the equivalent of getting the finger in the man G spot. Like they've lived such a luxury already that like you can only go higher, and it's human nature to go higher.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at anyone who does cocaine. You know what I mean?
Literally. Yeah. Get higher and higher.
Higher.
Ooh yeah.
That's a badass jam. The Outkast Andre 3000 Vibrate.
Yeah.
Vibrate. Higher.
Anyway, what else we got?
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Pokemon. Detective
Dude,
Pikachu.
I shared that on Facebook. I was like, no. Ryan Reynolds is the voice of Pikachu? What the fuck?
It was not what I would.
How is this even happening? Who greenlighted this project?
Honestly, dude, it looks better than I would have ever imagined.
Sure. It's not kid. It's like Deadpool meets fucking Pokemon.
Yeah, I fuck with it. I'm gonna fuck with it.
That's actually literally exactly what it is, Philip.
Yeah,
Philip.
But Philip.
It's like Deadpool meets Pikachu.
But
yeah,
I'm gonna fuck with it for sure, dude.
So we gotta go see it.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
And we gotta see Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah,
Grindelwald.
Yeah, fantastic beats.
That one.
The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Because people can say what they want. Johnny Depp's the fucking man.
Yeah.
Just like Keanu Reeves.
There's a lot of controversy.
Just like Tom Cruise.
That's fucking Johnny.
Hey, there's controversy against Tom Cruise, but he's still out there fucking it up.
But I mean, his isn't about beating women.
That's true. That's true.
His is on the whole.
That's true. But I guess we could just be like, well, I mean, were you there?
Were you there?
What trips me out is like then you'll have like women who will still defend like Chris Brown when like you have pictures of like the way Rihanna turned out. But again, were we there? Do we know what really happened? Like I don't know. Like you see the photographic evidence, but like what do you think? Like how do people really know what happened? That's not me condoning ever laying it. I would rather let a woman smack me and me just walk away and like disappear and just be like, all right, clearly this has escalated.
That's happened to me before.
You know what I mean?
Plenty
than
of times.
than to ever like let me show you like no fucking I grew up like watching
Yeah.
that shit happen, you know, like to in my home as a kid, you know, both when I lived with my dad and both when I lived with my mom, and like I'm not about that.
Right. Right.
Like I don't stand for that.
Yeah.
Dude.
I abhor that type of violence. Like, just
It's coward shit.
putting,
If
yeah,
it,
it
yeah,
is.
you know.
It is. It is.
Although, like, also, I don't excuse a woman going crazy and pulling out a knife on a dude for no fucking reason just because she's losing her mind.
Yeah,
Are you
I don't
cheating on me?
condone
And she
that.
pulls out the knife, and like that's also unhealthy.
Right. Right. But
Just I just gotta be
Grindelwald.
Grindelwald. Yeah. So Johnny Depp
What other movies are coming out?
got dark real quick.
Yo, I was reading an article on Cinema Blend, I think.
Cinema Blend.
Yeah. About, maybe it was, I can't remember if it was Cinema Blend or not. I might just be making that
Sounds
up.
like Cinnabon.
But I just read that James Cameron announced that all main what was that shit called?
Avatar.
Yes, but all the what's the fucking term?
That's James Cameron, right? Yeah.
Yeah, principal photography.
All the principal
have been
photography.
finished on the four Avatar sequels. So all the
Four Avatar. He's filming them all at once.
here, it's already done. He already did all the filming, all principal photography for the four sequels.
Oh,
so
shit.
all of that has already been recorded.
So we got the top arc of everything done.
Everything's done. Everything is done. Now they go into, because obviously it's
The nitty-gritty.
heavy special effects movie.
Yeah.
So now the rest, because the first sequel isn't supposed to come out till 2020.
Yeah.
So now all he's going to be doing is making this movie. Since they already shot all the green screen shit and all that's done, now they get to the real work of it. So that's amazing.
That's
the fact that
crazy.
and he said that that they're going to release 2 of them for sure.
Yeah.
And then based on how those 2 do, they'll release the other 2.
Oh, so he used the budget that he was given to
Yes.
to do
all of it, everything that he needed to do. So I imagine he's
That's
going to
definitely
release those.
unique.
He's going to do those 2 films.
Dang.
I imagine he's going to do those 2 films, release them, and then if they do well, he'll do the special effects and all the shit for the other shit that he's already filmed.
which is usually like for especially a heavy special effects movie, like that's where the budget really does go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty dope.
That is
I
crazy.
think that's dope because
I mean, I liked Avatar.
Yeah.
That shit was like mind blowing experience.
it was a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to say since then, because he's the one that really brought the 3D
Mainstream.
to the mainstream to what we know it to be now. The thing is, though, that what we know now as 3D is very, very cookie cut now. It's like now you can film anything and then just toss it into 3D shit and then it's
The
done.
movie theaters get to charge like
But-
$4 extra.
But James Cameron was the one who actually used the 3D the way that it was supposed to be used. And then all these movies after that
Followed
have
that
just
model.
been to a certain extent. Like they didn't like now they're just tossing now they're just tossing it into like a 3D converter and then calling it 3D. But the way that James Cameron shot Avatar was made to optimize
the 3D experience.
what the 3D experience, you know?
I mean, he was a visionary. is what
The
you're
way
saying.
he shot it was intended for it to be 3D, period. Now people are just making movies and then saying, "Oh, we'll make that one 3D." Like,
right.
even if it wasn't shot to be a 3D
So
film.
what you're saying is James Cameron should be respected,
I mean, he is respected.
like on some serious levels.
Yes.
He's a game changer, innovator.
Yes, absolutely.
Crazy. Imagine seeing like a Scorsese film in 3D.
But see, that's how
That's
much,
what you're saying.
That's
That's
how
what you're
much. Yeah, that's how much 3D has been diluted. to where you could make any movie and
like
just
a Michael
make it
Bay.
3D,
And again, like I'm not talking shit. Like
and some
it's
of
all
them
great.
aren't intended for that.
Yeah. It's just like did you shoot for that reason?
They want to make that extra money.
Yeah.
So they're saying, "I will make it in 3D." You know,
like regardless if the movie is good or not, like was it shot for that purpose?
Exactly. And this is why I'm excited that
all 4 of them have been shot.
That he's gonna do them, because
4 sequels. You said
4 sequels. 4 sequels.
So it's gonna go all the way to part 5.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So and then
Zoe Saldana's in it.
Yeah. All the cast is back.
Zoe.
Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana,
Wow.
Sigourney Weaver, Stephen Lang.
Wow.
And they just tossed somebody new. I can't remember who the last person was.
Wish it was me.
Oh,
the only thing I couldn't
Rachel Weisz, maybe.
Really,
I
really,
think
Rachel Weisz.
I think it might.
She's dope, man. She used to be married to director of Requiem for a Dream.
Danny Boyle.
No.
That's
He's one of my
30
favorite
Days of
directors,
Night.
and I'm totally blanking right now. He also did Pi. He also did Black Swan. Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, I mean now I think he's with J Law now. J Law, Jennifer Lawrence. They're together now, but I know he used to be with Rachel Weisz. That's why she was in The Fountainhead, or no, the
Fountain.
The Fountain. Yeah, The Fountain.
With Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, huge jacked man.
Huge jacked man. He is fucking stud.
Fucking stud.
Man, fucking Stan Lee is done.
It comes. Damn. Yes. You know, look, I may not be a superhero film buff only because like I have no heroes when I was a kid. You know, I had no heroes when I was a kid. Maybe Batman, but he never saved me, so I got jaded. But damn, Stan Lee has done a lot for American culture.
Absolutely.
And for pretty much every A-list actor there is out there today.
Today, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for these Marvel films, like we wouldn't know Robert Downey Jr. the way we know him now. Like,
although Less Than Zero was dope. If you haven't seen it.
No, but what I'm saying is that
no, I'm not on that level.
He was a washed up has-been.
Yeah, like, he fell into drugs.
He was trash, but Iron Man completely changed it. Completely changed his.
It gave him the chance again.
Path. Yeah.
He knows it.
Chris Evans, you know.
How could Priscilla dump me? Jake Weiler. Like, I can't believe Chris Evans is Captain America.
Yeah.
Because to me, he was the popular jock with the sideburns who was sensitive.
But it's amazing that, and these are respected roles. These are like, no one's making fun of these roles as like, as anything but A-list and,
right. Even like Thor.
It's considered
Chris
respected
Hemsworth
acting. Yeah.
Yeah, it is considered.
You know, it's a respected role. Like,
even look at the way the medium changed. Like humor was brought in a way that was like never before used. Like these movies used to be very like, I'm a superhero.
Very comical.
Yeah.
They were very comical.
Yeah,
they were very
talk about like the
straight out the pages.
Michael Keaton fucking Batman type movie where it was like
very, even though it was very dark, it was still comical.
Yeah, like, it was like comic
still
book.
Very comic booky.
Yeah.
What they did with these Marvel films is they made them feel a little more grounded.
And I mean, they're
still fantastical.
Do you know when it started changing? Do you know what movie really did it? For me, it wasn't like until Christopher Nolan had released Batman that all of a sudden they were like, wait a minute, heroes can be great. But I could be wrong, because even though I want to be an actor, I'm not a film historian or student, you know, but I do know that it wasn't until Christopher Nolan that I realized that they would start changing shit, you know.
For me, I want to say,
because you used to collect comics, like, so you followed the hero path pretty close. I have not,
because even Spider-Man was very comic booky.
Yeah, with Tobey Maguire,
Sam Raimi directing it, Tobey Maguire starring. To me, I want to give it to Blade.
Yeah.
I want to give it to Blade.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes definitely fucked it up. Like, he made that shit pop.
I want to give it to Blade.
Blade 2, where the dudes had, like, they look like Parka from Mortal Kombat and shit. Like,
Baraka,
yeah. Baraka Obama.
Baraka Obama.
Yeah. Blade 2 was really where, like, for me,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
It was.
Now I want to watch Blade.
I know. But yeah, I'm gonna give it. I'll give it to Blade. I just love all those movies.
And then it was like Twilight where vampires died. But yeah.
Yeah, man.
So Stanley.
Big ups. Just found out that Kim Porter died too.
Kim Porter?
Yeah, she was the longtime girlfriend of Puff Daddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She was the mother of his 3 kids.
No.
Yeah. She passed away. She got pneumonia, dude.
Oh, what a way to go, man.
I mean, they hadn't been together in a long time, but
hey, you know what? Like I always say, you don't ever stop loving people. You just find people you love more.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
Huh.
Because
I fuck with that.
A real love never dies, man.
I fuck with that.
Like, I may not be with the
especially if it's someone who
had you,
who
the mother of your children.
Man, he must be in.
I don't care who you're in denial if you're going to say that. Yeah,
devastated.
absolutely. I sending nothing but positive energy his way. Yeah. Like I wish. I don't know that I could do something for Puff Daddy. You know what I mean? Like
I don't think anyone can right now.
You know what I mean?
It's just one of those things. He just has to.
But if by some miracle he hears this and he needs somebody to talk to, like a stranger, because sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers.
Yeah,
dude.
Hey, Puff.
For free, bro. Because I ain't about that.
I ain't about that bullshit. None of our business.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It is none of our business.
It is none of our business. Because that's devastating, man.
Yeah, man.
Fuck. Like, it's one thing. Like I've lost a parent. Well, I didn't have my parents, and then I ended up losing my parents. So like it's a weird feeling. It's one of those like, I think I'm supposed to feel sad kind of moments. But I can like even people who I'm not with anymore. Like if I found out like something bad happened to them, I'd probably be like, fuck. Like
yeah.
That sucks.
It does.
It made me reflect for sure.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything, I couldn't bear the idea of like one of my siblings. Like, I consider like that would probably hit me harder than any parent thing ever could.
I think I'd be incredibly devastated. I mean, right now the situation, like, I don't. We don't need to get into it this time, but yeah, I can.
You know what I mean? Like it's weird how. That just goes to show, like, even if you have like family and it's blood, like, it's really earned.
Yeah.
Like people earn people.
Yes. Agreed. Blood isn't always thicker.
Like, look, we're like, we may not be going out there raising money and like Stan Lee donating to whatever, but he impacted the world in a way where we're like, we mourn the loss of that genius.
Yeah.
Even if at one point all he was doing was putting his name on shit and like all the other creative people involved, he's still the fucking person who brought it to this world. The channel.
Yeah.
And you've got to mourn the channels just as much as everything else, man.
Yeah.
And Masonry talks about that. Like, it's no secret. It's written in English, so I know I can share it. But it's all about developing yourself in a way that you become a channel that's worthy and able to be the vessel for what the universe wants to manifest into the world. The great architect of the universe, as they say. Like, so coming back to what we used to talk about with the worth a damn factor, where you put yourself in such a position that it's undeniable that you're the best channel or the best vessel for the manifestation of that in the world. Most people who are like billionaires and this and that, it's not even their money, man. It becomes something that was given to them by the universe. I mean, there are crooks, there are people who made their money in other ways, but for the most part, those people that are doing so much shit for people that never goes, like unsung heroes, that do so much for the world. And just because it didn't bless you and reach you doesn't mean that there aren't people out there doing amazing things with all that money that they were given because it was the best way to manifest that sort of abundance. But like, look, if you wake up and the sun is shining and you've got air in your lungs, you've got abundance, man. And you have the choice. You have the choice to look at it. You know what I mean?
One thing that I will give to my dad is that he always did say, as long as you have your health and your mind, you're good. You can
do something with it.
Mm-hmm. You still have an opportunity. So.
And it's crazy, man, because I have my own days. Like nobody's perfect. I'll have my days where I'll catch myself saying nothing but negative things, and it's my choice to look at the world that way. I could look at the fact that all the great things I have in my life. For some reason, man, the human mind is a problem solver, and as such, it focuses on problems.
Yeah.
You know, and some problems may not be solvable at the time.
Yeah. It's not to say that they won't be solved though, but
That's true. That's true.
Sometimes we just come into these humps and we just got to get over them.
And speaking of humps, that's why it's important to have a healthy sex life.
Hey.
Because, man, don't that shit
And
heal
with
the world.
that, ladies and gentlemen,
Stay freaky.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, but we're kind of running short on time, and I got to get back.
There was that hiccup early in the episode. I don't know what that was about.
But whatever that was, we caught it.
Maybe in the future we'll try just running it off of here originally, like we did originally, instead of running it on the computer.
That's fine too. But it didn't happen again. And how
I
much
can't
did we do
I can't
today?
tell by the bars. I didn't change it over the time, but we've got over 2,000 bars. Take that, rappers. 2,000 bars and counting.
You wanna say before we sign off?
Nah, man. I think it was interesting.
This is your soapbox right now.
I the way I look at it, man. I don't know what the name is going to be, but I can tell that we're touching on adult topics, and we're touching on sexuality, and then the occasional pop culture. But most of what we're doing is like, has this ever happened to you? Yes, it has. You know, so there's something there, and I don't know. I think people are going to respond to this big time. I know a lot of people are looking forward to hearing this drop. Mm-hmm. So, I'm excited to see what we end up calling it.
Let's put it out there. I want to lead. We'll talk about it.
Do you think?
But I just want to talk about Fallout 76 real quick,
right?
Because I got to touch on the video game.
Gamer extraordinaire.
But yeah, this week, the week of 11/12. I think that's where we're at, right? November, the week of November 12th. That's the week we're on right now. You make sure. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Fallout 76 came out.
Is that the demo you were playing the other day?
It's the demo I was playing the other day.
And now it's the official game.
Now it's the official thing. It came out on Monday. I just had an opportunity to play it like fully for a couple hours yesterday. And I just want to say, it's for anyone who's ever played Fallout, the Fallout series, it's probably during your time playing through it, I'm pretty sure for any of these gamers who played it, at some point they were like, man, it'd be really dope if I had somebody here to help me do this part. This game is that game. It's a multiplayer game online.
Damn.
So you're in the Fallout universe and you have a team. And
if you want
a team, you have a team. You could get
Ready Player One style.
You could get 3 of your closest friends, and you guys could explore the wasteland. It's super dope. They went back on what Fallout 4, which is the previous installment. It took away a lot of the little things that made the game. So they brought a lot of that stuff back. Like now you can repair your weapons. Your weapons waste away if you use them.
That realism,
you know? But then they also brought in like some of the mechanics that they used for the new Fallout, which is you could build settlements and build your own place and do and grow villages and stuff. So that they've brought that back, developed more on that. So it's a lot of cool stuff. If you're a fan of the Fallout universe, check that out. I like it. I hope to get deeper into it, and yeah. Just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think we're doing okay here. I think we just gotta get a name.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know when this was going to air, but today I had a meeting with a photographer named Matthew Young out here in Highland Park, who's successful. He runs an organization called The Art of Freelance, and I met with him today for the first time. I met him online and reached out to him, and after our meeting, he happily told me that if I wanted to create events for to get people together, and as long as I had a good idea for it, he'd open his space up to me so I could use it. For that purpose, you know what I mean? And so if there are any freelancers who end up listening to this or whatever, hit me up, because the minute I get anywhere 15, 20 people, because it could only fit 50, but like you don't need an event that big for like what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do. But anybody out there who's especially creatives who are trying to get into business, like it'd be good for you. And I'm thinking of maybe creating a course where I introduce people like to the steps necessary to really create a decent podcast.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the world I'm in.
Like that. Maybe we drop this like on Saturdays, you know,
Yeah.
so that way it doesn't.
Yeah.
Regardless of when we record it,
Yeah.
you know, at least we know that we can drop it on Saturday.
My leg fell asleep.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
By the way, I saw your shoes, man.
Oh,
This
these
dude's got fresh kicks and like you're just throwing them out there.
No, these some Jordans.
Pretty. Just some Jordans.
Just some Jordans. These are called the Eclipse.
They're definitely making my shoes look bad.
They, you know what?
They're eclipsing my shoes.
They've phased them out. You can. I was looking on Nike.com
No way.
to buy another pair because I like them so much that I just want to have an extra pair in case. But,
So in case you take these to work.
Yeah, they don't have this color anymore.
Damn.
All black on black. But yeah, I mean they were in my trunk for like almost a year.
You're that dude, man. With food, with anything, anything like. Just so listeners know, Joe once left a bag of pork rinds that he swore he was going to eat for 3 years in a row. Like he's just the dude. He'll have some shit
I was
and
gonna
then
get
not.
around to it, you know. I was gonna get
You're
around
a
to
pleasure delayer, man.
it. Hey, man, I like to know that the pleasure is there if I need it. You know?
Yeah, you do.
Hey, I like
Don't
to keep
we
it
all?
on reserve. Keep it on reserve.
No doubt,
But
man.
yeah, dude. All right, so we're gonna sign off here. Tune in next week.
Spread the word.
Spread the word.
Leave a review on anything you're listening to because that's going to help us.
You can find us on social media.
Yeah. You go and drop yours.
Okay, at mine Instagram. Actually, all my social media is at Joe M Castellanos. Joe M Castellanos. Check
Very
that out.
nice.
I'm on Instagram, on Twitter.
You're on all the host
Facebook.
sites. Huh?
I'm on all those. You know, I have a delightful little feed, so check it out.
Very nice.
You know, I'm around.
And if you guys want a dose of daily motivation, you could just follow my shit.
Yeah.
I always drop knowledge, maybe too much, at Philip Lanos. And you just type that in on Google, and the world is yours.
Hey, all
I'm
right.
Google famous.
Signing off, guys.
All right, y'all.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Catch you later.